Hello and welcome to my tutorial series on how to make a custom zombies map in Call of Duty Black Ops 3 mod tools. In this series I'll be teaching you a lot, so be sure to check out the link in the description for the playlist for all the videos there. Now in order to get the Black Ops 3 mod tools you must have Call of Duty Black Ops 3 on the PC, preferably with Steam. If not, you have to link it to your Steam account. Once you do, you can then just go up to your library, tools, find Call of Duty Black Ops 3 mod tools, double click it and install it. Once it's installed, you should have an icon on your desktop called Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Mod Tools. Double click that and that will load up our launcher. Takes a few moments and here's our launcher. It's much nicer than the World at War one, so let's go over everything that's new. So you can go up to File, New, Asset Editor or Level Editor, and also the shortcuts here. You can go up to Edit, which would be Build and Publish. You can also do Options. If you're not English, you can change your language. And then the Help just has the About. Below that, you pretty much have the same buttons: New, Build, Publish, Asset Editor, and Level Editor, which is Radiant. Below that, you have your maps. It comes stock with MP Combine, multiplayer map, and ZM Giant, a zombie map, and then there's no mods, but if you made mods they would be here. On the right you have the compile, the light, the link, and the run. Pretty much you just want to compile all this stuff when building your map. You could do entities or full. Most likely just going to do full, and then you can change your lighting. Normally keep it on low or medium when you're just building it. When you're actually worrying about lighting, then do high. It's going to take longer. And then right here you could put in your parameters and then you could build. We'll get to this at the end of this tutorial because we'll actually play the map then. So how do we make a map? Well, first things first, you click here, click New Map, and then the only thing that you need to do is if it's a multiplayer map, do MP underscore. If it's a zombie map, do ZM underscore and title it. So we will call ours tutorial. And then for the template, you need to choose which type of map you're making. If it's a map, it's MP mod level. If it's a mod, it's a mod. And if it's a zombie map, it's ZM mod level. We'll choose that. We'll hit OK. It'll build some files right here. You can find out where they are. We'll then select our map and hit the Radiant button. This will load up Radiant Black, which is much better than Radiant for Call of Duty World at War. A lot has changed, so we'll go over that, and I'll quickly go over the different shortcuts and hopefully explain it really quickly so you can jump in and know what to do. So first things first, when you load in, this is what it'll look like. There's a lot of different windows here, and the best part about this is you can actually customize where they go. For example, you can grab the graph and put it on your left, and then you have the camera on the right. Maybe you want to throw all of these together. You can just do this like this, and then we can grab the entity browser and throw it up here. We'll actually hide those for now. I'll explain how to get them. But here, we just have a simple two-layer layout. If you're a type of person that is from World at War and you'd rather it be like that, then you can just bring up the textures, throw them on the bottom, and there you go. You can also change the size. But this is kind of how it would look like on World at War. Once you find your perfect layout for your maps, you can actually go up to Settings and then Save New Window Layout. And then this will save it moving forward. And if you mess something up or can't figure out where it was originally, you can just hit Reset. Now before we get into the shortcuts of the keys and all that, you can actually find them all right here by going up to Settings, Key Bindings, or Control-K. There's tons of different shortcuts here. So I mean, I'm not going to go over all of them, but you can find them here if you need help with them. And then we'll hide the textures. So first things first, you have two windows. You have the graph and you have the camera. We'll first go over the graph because that's what you'll work in most. Camera is more like when you're trying to look at stuff. So here's the graph. First things first is you need to change the grids. You can do so by changing it with the numbers. So 1, change the grid 1, 2, grid 2, 3, grid 4, 4, grid 8, 5, grid 16, 6, grid 32, 7, 64, 8, 128, and 9, 256. So if you need to change your grid, you can do so. Most of you will probably be on either 4 or 3, unless you need to position something perfectly. Then you'll probably use 1 or 2. Normally you don't use the other ones, but they're there if you need them. Now you can also make the grid smaller by using the the left bracket or the right bracket. As you can see, they do change then, but again, you'll probably just use the number keys. Now to draw a brush, this would actually, I'll show you this window a little bit. So let's say we want to build something. So anytime you want to build something out of a brush, you would just drag it out with the left click mouse, drag it, and there you go. And then obviously you can make it smaller, bigger, wider, fatter, etc. And then you can change the views and then make it taller or smaller. To change the views, you hold down Control Tab. and then this would give us the XZ front, and then you could just drag above it. As you can see, I'm not dragging it. If you click it and drag it, it moves around. If you drag above it, it goes up or down. And then you can change the view again, Control-Tab. This will be YZ, and then you can make it thinner or smaller depending on what you want. And then Control-Z, go back to the top, and then you can move it where you want. Now, to deselect stuff, you hit Escape. To undo, you hit Control-Z. And then to delete stuff while it's selected, you hit Backspace. That's pretty much all the keys that you'll need for that then. And then you can also zoom in and out with your mouse wheel. Zoom up, we'll zoom in. Scroll back, we'll zoom out. And then if for some reason you don't have a mouse wheel, you can then just use the insert key to zoom out or the delete key to zoom in. So in case you want to use the keyboard shortcuts. And that's pretty much all that you'll need here. The only other thing then is you can right click. Right-clicking in here will bring up this. We'll get into this in a bit, but it'll bring up this for quick access stuff. And then shift-clicking will select an item. Just keep in mind you most likely won't be doing that here because there's probably going to be stuff above you. As you can see, I selected stuff above me. So normally you don't click stuff in the graph. You click it in the actual camera because it's easier to find. So that's pretty much it for the graph. Let's move over to the camera side of things. So this is the camera. It's actually really awesome. The best thing about it is the different colors. So if we start off by hitting F5, we're now in wireframe. So then you can see the map in wireframe. F6 does no lighting and it's lighter, so it's good to see stuff. Everything looks kind of ugly, but it's good, especially if your computer's running bad with lighting. You can just move around the map a lot quicker without the lighting. F7 does the same thing, but it's a little bit darker. F8 shows the lighting. If you haven't compiled your lighting, you would need to hit the lightning bolt. We'll do that, wait a few moments, compiles the lighting, and then here you actually have lighting that it would look like in the game. And then the best thing ever is you actually have, if you hit F9, you have the game view. That's right, this is what it looks like in the game, minus the perks don't show up. And I'm not sure why. They don't show up in any of the views, and hopefully they will fix that. This is what perks look like right now. So that kind of sucks. It's hard to navigate it, but the game view is good for everything else, especially with weapons. Look at this weapon. So if it's a small weapon, I don't know what this is. I'm not going to know if it's positioned on the map. However, if I go into game mode, I can then select it and move it around in the game mode, which is just awesome. And then sometimes, I'm not sure what makes it start, but sometimes the stuff will actually move live. So if there was like a fire here, the fire would burn while you're editing the map, which is awesome. Pack-a-Punch will sometimes move as well. It's not doing it now, and I'm not sure why, but sometimes it also moves. Power's not on, maybe that's why. No, I don't know. It still does it when the power's not on, but who knows? But yeah, that's it. So now that we got the views out of the way and also how to build the lighting, let's take a look at moving around. So moving around with this is done with the right mouse button. So the right mouse button, if you just click it, you'll get this window again. You can left click it to get out, but to move, you just hold it down. So to hold down the right mouse button, you can move the mouse forward to go forward, backwards to go backwards, left to look left, right to look right. It does not move you left and right. And then that's it for just the mouse click. Now, if you hold down Control and right mouse click, then you can move forward to go up, backwards to go down, left to go left, and right to go right. So now you can move while holding Control. You can do circles and all that stuff. And then to look around, you can hold down Control and Shift with the right mouse button held down, and then you can look around. I usually don't use this much because it's kind of jitterish, but you can if you want. It'll keep you in place and you can look all around. And then the best key is if you do get combobbled all around, you can hit End on your keyboard and that will straighten you out, and then you can just go back to using the right mouse click to look around. So that's pretty much that for movement. Now for selecting stuff. Left click doesn't do anything. You can't click anything here with just left click. To select something, you have to hold down Shift and left click it, and this will select it. Now you can then use these little windows, which I think you can turn off with one of these buttons. Yep, right here, toggle manipulation handles. If it's ever not there, happened to me, I wasn't sure why, you can just click that button to toggle them on and off. But then you could actually move them in here rather than move them in the graph like so. But you can do what you want, Control Z, and then you can move them up and down and all of that stuff with that. Escape to deselect. Now you can select when texturing, you only want to select the faces. And the reason because of that is because you may have a wall on one side and a different texture on the other. So what you would do, instead of Shift Select, which selects the whole item, you hit Ctrl-Shift-Select, and that would select just the face. So you can select multiple faces of multiple items, but Ctrl-Shift-Select would select just the face. So Ctrl-Shift-Select will select the face. Let's say we want to give it a different texture. You could obviously do that by bringing up the textures windows by hitting T. We'll go over those again, and applying just a different texture by double clicking it. But let's say you already have the texture on the map, then the best thing to do is use your middle mouse. Just select the other item, like hover over the other item, hit the middle mouse with your item selected, and now it has that texture. So you can do Ctrl-Z because I don't want a sky there, and this was the item that I built earlier. Backspace to delete the items when they're selected. Not sure if I told you that. Figured I'd mention it again. But yeah, when you select something, Ctrl-Shift-Select, you can then change the texture just by clicking on a different texture in the map, which is nice in case you have like everything the same texture. Based on that, then that's pretty much it. The only other thing is there's a few other keyboard shortcuts. If you have the numpad, you can actually select your item, hit the minus sign, that will move it down based on the grid. Change the grid, it goes down more. That would be useful if you need to move it a lot. And then plus on the numpad does that as well. It actually goes the opposite way, which is up. If for some reason you don't have a numpad, maybe you have a smaller keyboard, then you can hold just the minus on your keyboard will go down. However, plus or equals does not go up. You have to hold Shift. That way you can get the plus sign. So Shift plus, Shift equals to get the plus sign makes it go up. And then obviously you can Control-Z to bring that back down. That's the only downside. Look how many times I have to Control-Z to fix it. Just keep that in mind. So that's pretty much it then for the movements. There's probably some other stuff. Oh yeah, keyboard movements. So for some reason, if you don't want to use your mouse for moving around, I can actually hold it down then as well instead of clicking it multiple times. But in case you want to move around the map with your keyboard, which sometimes you may, the keyboard shortcuts are A will pivot up about 15 degrees and it goes to a maximum of 90. Z pivots down to a maximum of 90. And again, you can hit end on the keyboard to fix that. D makes you move straight up. C makes you move straight down, just increments. I'm not exactly sure what those increments are. And then comma makes you move left. Period or full stop if you're British makes you move right. The mouse, but the keyboard shortcuts, up on the arrow key makes you move forward. Down arrow makes you move back. Left arrow makes you look around in increments of 15 degrees, I think it is, and right makes you look around as well. So if you want to do a combination of both this and that, I actually do that quite a bit. You'll see me moving my mouse, move up with Control, but then pivot down with A or Z. Depending on what I'm looking at, you can do that as well. And then that's the movement there. And then the only other ones is page up will make you move up more, and page down will make you move down more, but they do keep you in the skybox, it seems, so you can't go out of your skybox with those, which is quite nice if you don't want to go too far out of the map. I believe that's pretty much it for all of that stuff. The only other things that are in the menu then is if for some reason you selected something and there's no white lines around it, you ended up hitting J. So just hit J to turn those back on. J turns them on and off. I'm not sure why you would have them off, but if you ended up hitting it, that's how you turn them back on, because it's kind of weird because like, is that selected? I'm not sure. So you can hit J for that. And that should be it with all the stuff that's in the camera. Right click, of course, is for this, which we'll go over in a moment. But I think that's everything that I wrote down for those. So the only other things is then the keyboard shortcuts to do stuff. If you hit I on your keyboard, it selects everything. You could then delete everything. Control-Z, of course, and escape to deselect. But I selects everything in the map, which is nice. If you have items selected, maybe it will be one, maybe it be multiple, you can hit H to hide them. Now they're gone. To get the last one back, you hit Control-Shift-H. It brings back the last items that were hidden. So if you hide multiple at once, it'll bring back the last one. But if I hid this one, and then hid this one, Control-Shift-H would only bring back the last one and then goes backwards, which is quite nice if you hide something by mistake or just want to get back the last one instead of everything. And then if you do hide a million things, or just anything, you can hit Shift H and it brings them all back. So Control Shift H brings back the last, Shift H brings back them all. You can select an item and hit spacebar. That will duplicate it, and now you have multiple items. You can do this on whether you want to change them in here or any of that stuff. It's quite simpler to do it that way. X allows you to cut stuff. So if you were to cut stuff, we'll get into this later, but you can hit X on your keyboard, come into here, just click 2 points, and there you go. If you hit Enter, it deletes the one side, like you see here, and keeps the other. If you hold down Shift and then hit Enter when you do it, it keeps both of them. That way you can choose which one you delete. And then I believe if you hit, I think it's Control, Enter, it will select one of the other ones, but keeps them both. And then if you, let's see here, it might not be Control. That probably screwed it up. Let me double check. I think it may be Alt, actually. So if you hit Alt, Enter, I don't cut much. Let's see here. Is it Alt? It used to be Alt, I think. Alt, Enter, I guess not. Normally it just deletes the other one, but I'm not sure. I think it might be Control Shift. Let's try one more time, and then I'll give up on this. Again, you can always look them up in there, but no, it doesn't seem to do that. So Shift Enter would keep them both. That's usually what I do, and then I just delete whichever one I want then. And we can Control Z that then. So that's pretty much it for that. We went over the J. Nothing else is really useful in that. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And then let's go over the windows. So if you hit B on your keyboard, that will bring up your entity browser. You'll be using this a lot, and this is actually what's here. So what you want to do is you want to choose, the most ones that we use will be Miss for like prefabs and models, Actor if you're doing zombie spawns, and then scripts or whatever here, whatever one you want, just do, especially Miss, right click it and hit toggle favorite, and now when you right click in the map, it'll show up here. So this is how I have Miss and scripts and all of that stuff, script structs, script model, all of that. So you can actually just highlight it, right click it, and then toggle favorite, and then it'll be there, much nicer. And then B obviously hides that window. You can hit F for the filter window. This is good for hiding a bunch of stuff that's equivalent to the same item. For example, we do have a skybox and all that. In the suns, you can actually just click here, turn off the suns, and now once it's done, we don't have to worry about deleting it or screwing it up or anything like that. You can hide this. This will be your best friend when you have tons and tons of stuff on your map. F closes that. You then have L for layers. Layers is good if you put a lot of stuff on the same layer. For example, I don't know what they put in the same layer right here, but you could actually then hide the layer. This seems to be like the lighting and stuff. So you could put everything on a layer, and then when you want to hide it, once you're done, you can just, tick it here rather than hide it with the H and stuff. The other key is M for models. This will bring up your models. So you can quickly go through the models right here. Oh, these are like scopes and stuff. Cool. Look, I just put a scope in my map. It was that simple. Just hit M, and now there's a scope in my map. Deselect, there it is. I don't know why I'd have a scope in my map, but you could put a scope in your map. You could actually put that where it like upgrades your weapon. But yeah, so there's models, and to hide that. The other one that you're going to be using most frequently is N. Pretty much everything in here is using N. Every item in here, which I'll go over, but all of these use the N key for the entity window. It just gives it keys and values for it to do different stuff. We'll be going over tons of tutorials for this, so N is a good key to know. And then you can do other ones. The other one is T for textures. This would be the other one that you would use most likely, obviously, because you want to texture different stuff. So T is a good one to know. And there's a few other ones. You can obviously go through, again, settings, key bindings, and go through all of them. That's pretty much the main ones. Preferences, you can just hit P and get preferences, but you can obviously just go up and get preferences as well. So that's pretty much it for all the keys then. I think that's it for Radiant. You now know how to move around. You know how to move your items, whether you do it in here, whether you make them bigger in here. The only other thing then is rotate. I did forget about rotate. I forgot to write that down. So selecting an item, hitting R on it will bring up these, and then you can rotate them. You can rotate it on the blue by just scrolling back and forth. You can rotate on the X doing this, and then the Y, of course. So you can just move your mouse around. You can also do it on this window. Once one of them is selected, you can just rotate them. So select blue, and then let's see here. Sorry, it's all wonky now. So with this, you will need to change the view. This will only do it on this view, so it's better to use the graph. Hit Control-Tab, change the view. Now we're doing it on this angle, and then Control-Tab would do top then. Obviously, this is really weird positioning, but I wonder if there's a quicker button to Control-Z a lot. Sorry about that. So we'll delete that. But yeah, so hit R and then R to turn it off. And then that's pretty much it. Up here is just some other stuff which you'll learn over time. You can just highlight them to tell you what they do. You can also do the rotate and the flips and all that stuff up here. And then pause the effects if they're bogging down to your computer. You just don't care about looking at fire anymore. So that's pretty much it for Radiant. The last thing to do then is once our map is done, you need to compile it. So hit Control-S. If you change lighting, it'll probably ask you to export lighting. Right here, lighting changed. Do you want to export? I just hit yes. I don't know the proper thing to do here, so I just hit OK, and then it tells me my machine doesn't pass minimum specs. So then I just hit OK and call it a day. So to compile your map, you want to hit select your map here and then do compile, light, and link. Just do them all. I don't think you always have to. I think compile is for scripts, but I know link is like when you change map stuff. But just hit build, wait a few moments. He'll tell you everything that it's building, give you errors if there's any and stuff like that. Since we're doing the lighting and stuff, it'll load up this window a bit. This is just, it's programming it in the background, which is really cool. You actually don't see it anymore. In War at War, it would show up like a little box when it builds the lighting and the probes and all the sun and all of that stuff. Now it just does it in a little form like that, which you just saw. And then this is, I mean, this map isn't super big, but this is kind of the time that it takes. So if your map is huge, and there we get an error on a nuked basic, I don't know what that is, but if your map is huge, this is going to take a long time. So you definitely maybe want to, lower down your lighting and all of that stuff. But there we go. Took about 17 seconds for that, and then took another 3 seconds. And now we're done. So then to build our map, all we have to, or to run our map, just hit run, hit build, and then this will launch it up in Black Ops 3. Again, if you added any other parameters, maybe you wanted it windowed or anything like that, I guess you could do that. I just changed my game to window, so we're good there. So just wait for it to load up. Takes a few moments. Here we go. Loading up the Steam. It takes a while for it to load, and I'm not sure if it's my computer or just it takes a while to load and launch you to your map, because obviously normally you would just launch your map, but here it's doing it itself. So we'll just wait a few more moments. There's my FPS at the top. Hopefully this looks good. It should look good. There we go. And now we're in the map. Now the only thing here is your dogs won't work. We'll do a tutorial on that. And the lighting is a little bugged out, but here's all the perks and stuff. And oh, it crashed my game. Well, that's great. I think that's my recorder because I've never had that happen. Maybe I ended up deleting something messing around. But that's pretty much it for the mod tools, guys. Again, please check out the tutorial, the link in the description to the playlist. Here we can start the game again. To the playlist. I'll be teaching you guys a lot. We'll be going over deleting everything and rebuilding it ourselves. That way you know how to do it. That way you can customize it even more. But hopefully you guys like this video. If you're still watching it, please click that like button if you haven't already. It helps other people find it. I apologize that it was a long video, but we had a lot to go over. All the other videos will be much shorter. Check out the link in the description for the playlist, and I'll see you guys later. I cannot believe the Black Ops 3 mod tools are out.